Hey boys, what's going on? Hope you guys are having a good weekend. And for those of you like me, you're celebrating Easter tomorrow. Happy Easter. So I wanted to make this quick thing for you guys because I had some questions about this when I brought these up on a post I made a little while back. I pretty much compared, beaches in the 1970s to the beaches now and the drastic difference in how people look. And pretty much people are, getting more and more obese nowadays. And, asked you guys, what are your thoughts on that? What do you think's causing this? Because in theory, you would think that, oh, we have more and more access to, good research. We know more and more about the body. We should be, staying leaner, getting healthier, right? But it's doing the exact opposite. So why is that happening? And I mentioned these seed oils as one of my big reasons here. Now, obviously, it's a multitude of things. It's not just can't be linked back to just one thing. But I think this is kind of a dark horse here that not many people know about. So I wanted to kind of explain it a bit, let you guys know about these sort of things and why they're bad, what you should be avoiding, and kind of just take that from there. So what I'm going to do is kind of give you a background on these, show you some studies, show you a little bit as to why these things aren't the best thing for you, what they actually do, and then give you a little advice just like on how to avoid them. It's kind of hard, not going to lie. You'll see why, but I'll just kind of run through this. So as a bit of a background, these vegetable oils or seed oils, whatever you want to call them, they were originally created as a waste product. They were a waste product that came from farmers, stuff like that, and they're trying to find a use for them. Just because it's like, oh, like we have all this stuff, how do we use it? It was originally used as machine lubricant. It was not even food. It was not deemed food. And then in the 1900s, the early 1900s, I think it was like 1905, something like that, they discovered, hey, we could actually, use this instead of animal fats. The fats in this are not the saturated fats that were deemed like the bad thing at the time. So they were marketed as a healthy alternative to these animal fats, but they're probably not, unfortunately. And it was also much, much cheaper. So then people are like, oh, we could cheaply replace this. And then now it's like $100 billion industry. So they're practically in everything we eat nowadays. I challenge you guys to go grab like a couple of things from your pantry, and read the labels there. I guarantee you'll find one of these things on there nowadays. Unless it's literally straight from the source, like obviously like meat, stuff like that, it's not going to be in there. But like anything where it's touched, processed, made by humans, it's probably going to have one of these in there, right? Corn, canola is one of the biggest ones, if not the biggest one. Cottonseed, palm oil, peanut, rapeseed, safflower, sesame, soybean, sunflower. I probably missed a couple too, but these are the main ones these are all the seed oils that are causing issues. There's probably a couple more, like I said, but these are some of the main ones. So they're in everything, which is going to probably be a problem. So why is this a big deal? So the introduction of these seed oils to our diet was literally the single greatest change to human nutrition in our entire history of existence. This was such a large change. Now, before we made this change, heart disease was a rarity. All these chronic diseases were a rarity. In fact, like I said here, the first ever recorded heart attack in a medical journal was in 1912, just a couple years after these were introduced into our diet. So heart attacks literally weren't even known as a thing before these. And it happens to directly correlate with the rise of obesity, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and literally almost like every chronic illness. Like after we introduced these things into our diet, all these things started to skyrocket. Like I'll show you this graph here. This is just obesity and diabetes. Now obviously people are going to be like, oh, correlation doesn't equal causation, but correlation does not equal causation unless the two variables are directly linked to each other. There's no in between here. The greatest change in human diet history, and then diabetes, obesity, Alzheimer's, all these things that are being produced after this. So I think, there has to be some causation there, right? Now obviously this is still theory, but if you have a working brain and are capable of, thought, you can kind of put these two together. They're actually like also they've done studies on this, right? They did a 3-week trial of, just regular beef fat versus olive oil versus safflower oil. People gained a lot more weight on the safflower oil, literally 15% more. There's more studies showing, this is kind of like what I was just talking about, the greatest change to our diet in the past 100 years. Literally, we were 99% of added fats were from animal fat. We went from absolutely zero to 80 grams of this stuff per day. I think the stat was they make up about a third of our calories now, if we, the average American diet. So huge change. 720 calories. Yeah, that's what it is. 32% of US caloric intake is from these. So that's a pretty dang big change. 30 went from zero of these things to 30% of these. And then as soon as these started happening, all of a sudden everything started coming up. All the bad things, all the chronic diseases started coming up. And they actually also have a big role on, fertility, your hormone levels, because these things are highly estrogenic in their nature. They found, they did ovarian toxicity in these oils. And now, although it's done in women, they found that they were incredibly estrogenic, and they still would have that effect on men as well. So it can also kind of correlate, to declining testosterone levels with these as well. So last thing is the Israeli paradox versus the French paradox. Now, these are supposedly paradoxical because the Israeli Jews eat the most of these ever, not the most, but like they eat a very large amount of these compared to the universal average. And supposedly, given that these things are supposed to be healthier, they have the word vegetable in their name. They're supposed to be healthy. They should have less heart disease. They should have less diseases in general, but they have a much higher rate of heart disease. They have an incredibly high incidence of coronary heart disease, despite having a diet very low in saturated fats. Um, and the French paradox is the exact opposite, literally inversed. So the French have a very high intake of saturated fats from animals. They don't eat too many of these seed oils. I think actually they may be banned in France, but France has a very, very low incidence of coronary heart disease. So it gets you thinking, it's like, these are direct opposites. There's probably something to this. So enough about all the stats and all that sort of stuff. Why are they bad for you? So these, the way that these are created, they are heated up at very high temperatures multiple times. They're bleached. The whole process of creating them causes them to be easily oxidized in your body. This linoleic acid that's created with them, it when you eat it, it is consumed and then it accumulates in your body. It doesn't just wash out when you take a piss or you take a shit. It sits in there and accumulates in their body, and it continues to oxidize. And when it oxidizes, it turns into things called aldehydes. Think of formaldehyde, a poison. Not so obviously not good things. So then when it's oxidizing, it produces this molecule called 4-HNE, which is considered the most toxic aldehyde. So that's obviously not good. And 4-HNE was actually, they've done a bunch of studies on its linked to aging, heart disease, Alzheimer's, and diabetes. Everything that's kind of gone up over these past, couple of years, 100 of years, more than a couple. And then also, there are, when you fry something, like fried foods, when you fry something in these oils, which is what every single person that's frying things typically does nowadays, unless they're using beef tallow. Um, there's 100 to 200 times the safe daily limit of aldehydes produced when you're frying something in vegetable oil. And this same oxidation process is going to happen in your stomach as well. So not good. Not good at all. And then continuing off of that, they also directly are linked to mitochondrial damage. Mitochondria, as everybody knows, powerhouse of the cell. It actually destroys I think it's the cell wall of the mitochondria, and degrades it, and then, damages the mitochondria's ability to produce ATP, produce energy. And mitochondrial damage is directly linked to pretty much all organ damage, especially heart damage. So not very good. So kind of going to give you guys, that's enough of that. You guys know they're bad. They're not, why they're bad. Let's kind of go how to avoid these. It's very hard. I will tell you that right off the bat. It is very difficult. They are in everything. The best thing you can do is check the labels of everything you're eating. Try to avoid these things. See if you can, try to get these things out of your diet in general, like eating, these crappy processed foods and stuff like that. Um, if you can avoid those in general, it's going to be much better for you. So I'll show you kind of a pictures to show you what I mean by that, and try to stick to foods that are in their natural forms. Like I mentioned, like meat, fruit, veggies, dairy, high quality. All of these things are going to typically be free of that unless they're mass produced and stuff like that. So they're in their natural forms. You should be fine. And then when you're cooking and you need like a fat or something like that to cook in, try to use one of these. Try to use butter, lard, ghee, extra virgin olive oil. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So yeah, butter, lard, ghee, extra virgin olive oil. Even extra virgin olive oil is probably not the best out of all of these. But it's much better. Coconut oil and avocado oil. Try to cook in these instead of using all the ones that I listed all the way back here. The corn, canola, all these sort of oils. Try to use those instead. It's much better for you. They don't oxidize into these 4-HNE molecules. So try to eat, as a visual, try to eat stuff like this, right? Try to eat, like high quality foods, natural states. We got steak and potatoes. We got a bunch of fruits, eggs, sauerkraut, high quality fats, avocados, stuff like this, instead of eating things that come in boxes, processed stuff like this. This is where you're going to find all of these. They're going to be in all of these, peanut butters. Definitely watch out for peanut butters. They're going to have a bunch of palm oil in them. So stuff like this is typically what you want to avoid. So I know it's a lot. I know I kind of just scratching the surface here. I didn't want to make this too long because I could go off deep end on these things. I hate them so much. But if you have any questions on this, reach out. Let me know. I can explain anything deeper if you need me to. My door's always open. So, yeah, hope this was informational for you guys. Hope you guys got something out of this. Let me know. But yeah, that's all I got for you. So,